We do have homegrown leprosy here.
Leprosy.
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 Cases of leprosy are rising.
Are we witnessing the return of the ancient disease leprosy? We asked infectious disease specialist Dr. Amesh Adalja.
Leprosy, or as it's known today, Hansen's disease, is a bacterial infection that is characterized by destruction of nerves and the cells surrounding those nerves, which can lead to disfigurement and skin lesions.
Dr. Adalja says leprosy has a reputation that's worse than its reality.
It's a disease that has a very long history going back to the Bible, and because of that has a lot of stigma and mystery associated with it that largely is unwarranted. The stigma really arises from the fact that people didn't understand what caused it for so long. And if you go back in the Bible, you can read in the book of Leviticus where they talk about taking lepers outside of society. And even though that was in the Old Testament, that continued even into the 20th century, where people who were diagnosed with leprosy were removed from society and put in leprosariums or colonies. People were forcibly removed and relocated there because people didn't understand what leprosy was, how contagious it might be, that caused people to ostracize those individuals from society.
Dr. Adalja says today leprosy is very treatable.
We treat bacterial infections with courses of antibiotics. So there are antibiotics that are effective against the bacteria that causes leprosy, and people are put on those regimens for several months to years. It depends. Leprosy is a little bit harder to treat in terms of how long you have to be on the medication. But after a few doses of those antibiotics, people with leprosy are no longer contagious. They don't have to be isolated.
And for most of the world's human population, this may be a moot point. It turns out leprosy is really hard to contract.
If you look at the science, over 90%, 95%, even some studies, 99% of the human population is not able to be infected by the bacteria that causes leprosy. So it is not a very contagious disease. It's actually far from it.
So what about those leprosy cases in the U.S.?
What we do see is, though, that 5% of the population is susceptible, and we see clustering of infections within certain households, within certain parts of the world, and even certain parts of the United States. And what may be happening is that we've got people that are infected with it, maybe undiagnosed, that can spread it to other individuals. But I think an interesting aspect of this is also that there are animal reservoirs for the bacteria. And one major reservoir is the 9-banded armadillo.
Note, steer clear of armadillos in the wild.
That's one of the hypotheses for what's happening in Central Florida, that they're seeing cases because of some association with that animal reservoir. So it's likely a combination of exposure to animal reservoirs as well as household contact amongst that 5% of the population that is susceptible.
In short, there are a lot of things to worry about in the world. Leprosy doesn't have to be one of them.
I don't think this is a cause for concern. If something is unable to infect 95% of the population, by definition, it's not going to really be something that's a cause for concern.
This is Inside Edition Digital.